So today, me and Dad went on a trip to Philadelphia in order to bring to my sister the stuff we picked up at Mom's place the other day. I stayed awake for, I'd say, the roughly 5 or so hour drive to Philadelphia, working on this styrofoam drawing. It's about maybe 60% of the way finished at this point. Although it was around noon by the time we got to Philadelphia, and we started driving there at around 7. I set an alarm for, I think it was 5:15 in the morning. And thankfully I was woken up by that alarm. Because it was only a few hours of sleep. Dad made this pizza. After dropping off the stuff at the apartment unit by bringing it up using a cart, one of the trolleys that are provided for bringing large amounts of items up, through the elevator, which has a door that opens on each side, and with sensors to ensure that the doors don't close on you or your stuff. So you generally want to stay to the middle of that elevator as much as possible. This is where I am currently in regards to the research on here. And this is where I'm at currently in regards to all the ancient wonders I've unlocked. It's about I believe Dad said it was about my second time going to Philadelphia within a month. It was a pretty good experience. We at last got home from the whole trip at about 10 p.m. It's currently 10:52 p.m. right now. currently wondering what other social media platforms I could put the 98 Dan Hamming episodes that are currently available through my YouTube channel. It rained quite a bit as we got to about the halfway point between being to and from Philadelphia. Pretty much around the point I did just about all I could do for the styrofoam drawing I worked on in order to keep myself occupied during the car ride to Philadelphia while engaging in passive conversation with my dad as he drove to Philadelphia. I wasn't constantly chatting, making moderate amounts of conversation. Although on the way back, by that point it was around 2:40 p.m. roughly, I would say. Or maybe it was around 5 for some reason. I don't recall being it that late. We went to a nice Mexican cuisine restaurant called El Vez. Yeah, it was a nice place and the food was good. Dad didn't seem to think that the short rib enchiladas I got were worth the $18 it cost. There were quite a bit of people, so it made it pretty noisy. And as such, it discouraged conversation to a considerable extent. Though I still filmed and made an effort to show the decor of the place. Although I'm not entirely sure if I've been to the place before or not. I only brought that container of Sharpie markers, and hence can't really color in the bottom part of this styrofoam drawing. It was somewhere between 2:40 p.m. and 5 by the time me and Dad brought my sister's stuff up to her apartment unit. which seemed cleaner than the last time I saw it, based off of what I remembered. The people in Philadelphia seem to be pretty friendly. Although, given how I believe Philadelphia is one of America's old cities, old urban centers, seem to have some pretty confusing roads and highways. And given how it rained considerably as we drove in, but I don't think it was raining as we went out, or if it did, just a little, but still. Dad found it to be pretty stressful traveling around the city. I believe I fell asleep while we drove from the apartment unit to a parking garage so we could walk to El Bez. I just sat in the back left passenger seat. I wasn't used to how that seatbelt was oriented, so it took extra effort for me to put it on properly, and even then, I apparently stretched out so much it ended up being loose. I mean, the diagonal part of the belt. It didn't self-correct. And when I tried to get it to do so, it wasn't exactly safe. Oh, the crosswalks seem to be pretty good, though. I didn't bring a jacket with me because I'm generally not bothered by being rained on a bit. And that's generally what happened to me. Even though it was raining considerably out there, as Dad parked within Jack's parking lot right next to the building where the apartment unit was located within. These are some of my boss believe the last of my Boss chicken wings. Yeah, I requested as we were driving back home. Fell asleep from about 5 p.m. to about 8:15 p.m., which isn't a whole lot, but could very well be enough so that I'm not able to fall asleep tonight. And I just had water at the food that I got at Alves. At one point, when we were looking at getting into the apartment unit, I mentioned how to protect this styrofoam drawing, from the rain. And in response, Dad mentioned how that was the last thing he was thinking about. We're probably thinking more on what the best and closest parking space would be. And there was a point in time in which, once we parked within Jack's parking lot, or at least that's what Dad called it, we sat and tried to wait the rain out for about 10 or so minutes, but it didn't let up at that point, and so we just kind of got out and braved the rain as we walked to get inside the apartment unit. And we were able to get to the apartment unit through a bit of help. By presumably a resident of the apartments. He was very helpful and pretty friendly. And I said thank you on at least 2 occasions for the help. Dad played quite a bit of good music, including that I believe it's the Trench album of 21 Pilots that he had a CD of, and put in within the radio or CD player, the stereo, perhaps. And then at 8:15 p.m. I woke up to some pretty good tunes. Although initially it took a while for Dad to come up with the idea for me to use my flashlight on my phone. And then I was able to find my glasses by the side of that, just outside of that side compartment. At that point, I was on the front passenger seat, which is to the right of the driver's seat. Thought, when I woke up, I thought I had put the glasses within the side compartment, but either I didn't do that, which now that I think about it seems quite likely, or it somehow rolled out of there. As I worked on the styrofoam drawing as we drove to Philadelphia, there were points in which Dad would open windows a bit, presumably to let some fresh air in or to keep the windows from fogging up, but that led to some fears that the piece of styrofoam would blow out of a window if I didn't hold on to it as I worked on it. And this is the same styrofoam block I was initially considering using for Red Hood, but now I'm going to have to use another styrofoam piece at some point. And I've also like to mention we went to a Starbucks following our trip to Alves. And the general guideline is that either everyone or the unvaccinated wear a mask unless you're seated. Or at least that's what I presume the general guideline is. I got a venti or large plain coffee with, as I requested, the darkest roast they had, but they only had the Pike roast or the Pike Place roast, which is a medium roast, which was fine by me. Despite the cup having one of those sip spill stopper things, it still spilled out of the gap between the lid and the cup. Not only did it hurt for those little splishes of hot coffee to hit my thumb and fingers, but mostly my thumb, it got on that cardboard sleeve and caused it to disintegrate considerably. I only drank a small portion of it before I fell asleep. And the minor coffee spillage happened as we were walking from the Starbucks back to where Dad's car was parked next to the apartment units building. And Dad wasn't too happy about the minor coffee spillage, although It was nothing too serious, and not too long after waking up at around 8:15 p.m., by that point, the coffee was pretty much a cold brew. And it was nice and enjoyable. But it was also enjoyable when it was still relatively fresh and hot at around 5 p.m. or so. After dropping my sister off at the building that leads to her apartment unit.